which we've had in our technical sessions, it brings us to the last session, which stands extremely important for, that is where we connect the dots and prepare a way forward. So that I would like to request once again our respected Joint Secretary Sir, Shri Jinesh Jagdaleji, for his concluding remarks and also to kindly propose a vote of thanks with the way forward. Thank you.
Yes, a good long day session. Excellent to see all of you here. I think few of them have left during the day, but nevertheless, I think what has gone throughout the day is a very interesting, celebrating this Global Wind Day on 15th June. You know, it has, this year basically has a lot of importance to India as such. You know, we are the India, you know, we are presidency, it's India G20 presidency, we are chairing the G20 nations in terms of the way forward. There is a lot of collective deliberations on how we can move towards energy transition. So this becomes a very important aspect for us as a country. We are in the Amrit Kal, as this event is a part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav as we speak. We also are leading on very different platforms, whether it's Quad, whether it's the IPHE, whether it's various other bilateral, multilateral platforms. We are also having the President of the General Assembly for the IRENA this year. So from a renewable energy transition, it becomes important for all of us to deliberate what should be the way forward, what can be done to accelerate the energy transition, what are the key different elements where energy transition can be accelerated. So today's session, as we speak, we could see a deliberation in the first session. I think it was important for all of us to first acknowledge the contribution by the states and the help that is needed in this entire endeavor to be on ground there and have very helpful and facilitative policies around the execution part on ground. While there is a demand that is there created, we see the trajectories moving very upwards. The electricity demand year on year or month on month has been increasing over the last year. And it has seen, and therefore, the entire capacity addition that is going to happen from now on to meet that strong energy demand, most of that energy demand is going to be met by renewables. Now, we also deliberated on the subject of what is the right mix: solar, wind, hybrid, RTC, battery. So that is an important element which comes out very clearly from today's discussion, is that in case we are moving towards around-the-clock renewable energy power, wind has its own strong, significant importance in the overall electricity mix from a RTC perspective. And therefore, as a fraternity, as representatives of wind energy sector, we will have to collectively look at this sector very closely, bring in innovativeness in the way the projects are happening, bring in facilitative algorithms which can be very optimally use the entire balance of plant, including the evacuation. So I think that is an also need that very strongly came out. On the manufacturing sector, I think very good, very loud and bold discussions about the readiness of the manufacturing industry as such, but also what we lose during the process is on the extension of timelines that keep on coming. But there is that means there has some dots have to be closed in. There has to be focus on execution. There has to be focus on the timeliness of these decisions, on whether it's I don't think finance has been an issue, but it's more on the evacuation part, which was very strongly coming out of today's discussion. What I can say from that perspective is that yes, there were delays and there are delays. delays have been an integral part in the long-term open access connections, but I don't see that going forward a long bit. You know, there has been substantially strong planning that has been done in terms of providing the right access, providing the timely access. We are learning these experiences into the offshore wind sector as well, so that we don't really repeat the same thing again. In an offshore, we are strong in much in advance, and we feel that whether it's the port infrastructure or whether it's the evacuation infrastructure is going to come well in advance, and you will see that actions on ground very shortly. So on the offshore part, there was a need felt about long-term visibility, long-term bidding trajectory, various business models. But one important element that was also discussed on how can we now have the right kind of turbine that we can build to suit our Indian offshore wind regime, whether it's on the coastline of Gujarat or whether it's the coastline of Tamil Nadu and then spreading across the eastern and west coast. So that is an important part, and I would urge the manufacturers sitting here that please deliberate, involve your the management boards to really now take some decisions, because otherwise the race is against time. The offshore wind sector is definitely going to come very fast into this. We have to be prepared for offshore. The OEM sitting here have to be prepared for the supplying or supporting the offshore wind industry from a manufacturing perspective. Because I sense, and you must have been discussing and following us, there is a lot of coherence and urgency in terms of now going onto the shores very shortly. So therefore, that need has to be there. There was a very interesting session on green finance, as we were very keenly listening to that. Thanks to all the partners and the panelists who deliberated on the finance. Very rightly said that the finance follows the project as a good project, doesn't really fell short of raising finances. But I think what is important for this country on the path where we are moving forward is the cost of finance. And therefore, innovative mechanisms are required, whether it's the domestic finance, whether it's the international finance, or it's the blended finance that we all speak, whether it's different vehicles that are coming up, whether it's the InvITs or whether it's the alternative investment fund. Everything has to come into this country, and I'm sure the banking sector is really taking this forward. What we also, as a part of our G20 collective effort, are requesting, even the multilateral development banks, and I will take this message to my colleague here who very well spoke about on the EIB's perspective. I think now it is time that we as a developing country, and even for finance, I think whether it's developing or developed country, but finance is required, and therefore reforms at the multilateral banking sector are required. How do we really look at different vehicles? How can we don't really only look at sovereign guarantees? Is there any other methodology where we can bring in finance based on the merit of the project? And therefore, we have been urging to the financial sectors to all the G20 nations that there is a need that the multilateral banking system needs reforms. Therefore, the cost for finance or the finance cost is lowered especially for the renewable energy projects. And within that, those technologies which actually require hand-holding for a few years, probably offshore wind classifies under that, including green hydrogen and storage. So these were some of the very important deliberations. 43.2 gigawatt, as I understand, as of now, the Indian onshore capacity. We will start repowering. I think Tamil Nadu got the recognition for their efforts in repowering. That sector is going to pick up. There was a lot of emphasis on the retail kind of business enablers, which will bring in the domestic capital, which will bring the domestic investor into the regime, which will bring in the open access, small SME and MSME sector. I personally believe that's the way forward for us to go as well, because we have been looking at the success of solar. Why can't we replicate in wind? We'll continue to work on that. We'll continue to work with states on that as well. So all this, I think, when we deliberate on this event was very well organized by Shakti Foundation. I would like to congratulate the entire team of Shakti who have been working through this over several weeks and coming to MNRE for our interventions whenever they require. All the three associations equally very enthusiastic approach this year. Very coming forward and sitting, consulting the ministry, giving ideas, and coming up with innovative thought process. And as I always say, it's a collaborative effort. It's an effort that everything cannot be resolved in day one, and therefore we need to keep on going forward step by step. So I would like to thank IWTMA. I hope Mr. Giri should have been here, but he's not well, so he sent me a message today morning that he is missing this event, but I should convey to him that we did this event very well. IWTMA, IWPA, a very old organization with a lot of retail plus large size power developers. They have been doing very excellently in advocacy in terms of the best policies that we can move forward. And WIPA, the Wind India Power Producers Association. So that's all the three associations were a part of this event. So I should like to thank them as well in terms of their, not only for the event contribution, but and please do keep in mind that is your responsibility to ensure that 15th June every year from now, from last year we celebrated, this tradition should continue irrespective of who is there in the chair in the MNRE, but that tradition should continue. And all the attendees, I see a lot of manufacturing representatives, I see developers, bankers, consultants, think tanks, policy researchers, policymakers, and I see also some of my foreign partner countries, their representatives who have been here and ably contributing to our journey towards wind. I'd like to thank all of you for participating in this. In fact, Honorable Minister had confirmed his presence for this event, but due to some medical emergencies in the morning, he couldn't attend. The Honorable Minister of State also had to go to Kerala for an urgent tour. He was in Kerala, so he couldn't come. But his video message is live on the social media. And Secretary MNRE, I would like to thank his presence, his guidance, and he is a strong motivator for the wind as a technology resource. We did discuss offshore wind just yesterday, and some important decisions were taken. So collectively, I think wind is going to see the brightened days. I think our Josh should be as high as it was today. We will continue we'll build in our strength to strength from each person to person, organization to organization, and ensure there's this journey towards 100 gigawatt. Let's put a small objective for us as a mission 100 for us to go by 2030. And this is absolutely without offshore support. It will be an onshore wind journey. So that with that mission 100 of 2030, I would like to thank you for being a part of this Global Wind Day celebrations. Jai Hind. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for once again inspiring and motivating everyone. The target set, which we work towards. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, once again a big thank you to everyone for joining us today in these celebrations. And as someone has very rightly said, that your celebrations become manifold when you pave way for further celebrations. So having this conference and having all of your thoughts and views as working towards the larger aim and goal of wind energy contributing majorly into the renewable energy basket and towards ensuring energy security for the country and the energy transition. Thank you for your very valuable time, thoughts, suggestions. And with that, we draw curtains to the conference. But yes, high tea awaits all of you. Please join us for high tea. Thank you again.